Tonight on Let It Rip, a magazine massacre as a dozen journalists are gunned down by terrorists for making fun of Islam. Will the violence in Paris threaten free speech over here? And what are we really ready to do to stop it?
We are at war against militant Islamists who seek our destruction and the destruction of everything that we stand for.
I looked and I see the defendant's gun pointed at us.
In court, he's portrayed as a violent criminal, a man dressed in a Santa Claus outfit who shot 2 people. But his supporters claim he's really a hero who saved a life.
He is not Santa Claus shooter doing anything negative. In fact, he is a super Santa protecting a sister.
Time to Let It Rip tonight. On the panel right now, a worried friend. Sonia Baker has known Marcus Weldon for years. She says he only fired in self-defense, but prosecutors call it assault with intent to murder. But not Reverend Alonzo Bell. He's the pastor of the Martin Evans Missionary Baptist Church and founder of Redeem Detroit, a charity dedicated to revitalizing the city. Also back with us, Rick Ector, an engineer by training, an expert in strategic planning, problem solving, and in the ownership and use of guns. And as always, a man whose greatest weapon is his mouth, attorney and reporter Charlie Langton. Now, a little later, we're going to talk about that magazine massacre in Paris and what it could mean for freedom of speech here in the USA. But right now, let's get to this case nicknamed the Santa Claus shooting. Sonia, you have been talking to Marcus Weldon every day since this. How is he doing tonight?
He is doing the best that he can. You know, for someone to say that to be accused of something that you didn't do, you know what I'm saying? Like his character, he's an awesome guy. You know what I'm saying? And for somebody to say that he intentionally tried to hurt someone, it's self-defense. It clearly shows it's self-defense.
Well, he is on a tether tonight, and we spoke to his father. His father was going to join us, but at the last minute decided he wanted to be at home with his son. But the facts of the case seem to indicate that, indeed, Marcus Weldon shot 2 people. What does he say happened that night?
Self-defense. He was protecting one of his co-workers. The two gentlemen were harassing her. You know, they made a threat towards him. You know, and then now they're trying to switch the whole story up.
Well, what is extraordinary about this story is the amazing show of support we have seen from the community. I rarely see a suspect supported by pastors, friends, and families in a public gathering the way you, Reverend, have come out in support of Marcus Weldon. Why are you willing to put your reputation on the line for him?
Well, I'm willing to put my reputation on the line and everything that I have behind him because I know him. He's been a member of my church for the last 10 years, and the guy is just an amazing person. He's active in the church, he's active in the community. He has 2 jobs. He's an engineer apprentice at one, he's a model at the other. He's in school. He's an outstanding guy who fought for his daughter to get custody of her, and he won. So this shows that he's a man of upstanding character. He had his CPL for 6 years, never used it. You know, a very well-mannered individual, an upstanding guy. He has support from so many different angles. And he was just appointed to the Mayor Duggan's advisory board for the Recreation Department. And he is a youth ambassador to the city of Detroit.
But of course, there are 2 sides to every story. The man who took a bullet at the gas station testified in court today. Here's what he said.
I start hearing bullets. I froze. I looked and I see the defendant's gun pointed at us, bullets flying, and one of the bullets ripped my arm right off the steering wheel. I see blood, his whole chest and back, everything is blooded. So I looked up, there's nobody there no more.
2 men shot in this altercation. One of them in court today, the other still in the hospital.
Well, when you look at the facts of the case, you'll see that these men pointed weapons at Marcus Weldon.
So you're saying these men had weapons too?
Yeah, they had a weapon. And they initiated the entire thing because they were assaulting the young lady that Marcus was with coming from work. He was coming from work. That's why he was dressed as Santa. And then when he came to help her with a tire that went flat, those men started to harass her. He went over there to see what was going on, to de-escalate the situation. And those guys began to push him. He pushed him, and he pushed him back. And then they went into a little tussle, and then one of the guys started speaking in another language to the other guy that was at the car. And so Marcus, assuming something was up, he said, "Look, I'm carrying. You need to leave it alone, leave us alone." And so the guy said, "I got something for you." and he went to the car and reached into the seat and came back up and turned around and pointed the weapon at Marcus. And at that time, Marcus fired shots to protect himself and his co-worker.
Rick Ector, you also have a concealed weapons permit. You know guns. You teach gun safety. How do you see the situation?
Well, you know, there's a lot of information that has been published in the media as to what actually happened. You know, like many people, you know, in the city, we don't know. We heard what we saw. We heard testimony from a lot of various people. You know, from a professional standpoint, you know, I just want to explain that it's really a bunch of simultaneously occurring circumstances that have to occur for you to validly use lethal force in self-defense. The individual using lethal force has to be somewhere he has a legal right to be. He has to have both a reasonable and honest belief that he's facing an imminent threat of at least great bodily harm, sexual assault, or death. You know, when you go into the individual actions that occurred, what was alleged, you know, this might just be one of those cases where we just have to actually see what's actually introduced in evidence. As a very huge supporter of self-defense, if it was used validly and justly, hey, I'm also in support of exonerating the shooter, but if he got something wrong, he actually didn't do everything that he was supposed to do, then of course he should be held accountable.
Charlie, it's a decision you have to make in a matter of a split second. But is it a real threat if I pull out a gun? If the threat to me is real, or if the threat to me is perceived, does the law make a difference?
Yes, the honorable and an honest perception of imminent, meaning immediate danger, then and only then can you use deadly force.
But if you're reaching into your pocket, I don't know if you're ready to pull out a business card or a gun. How am I going to know that?
That's a problem, isn't it?
And then
that's
why
why self-defense is so hard. Listen, we've had cases lately. Self-defense, shooting is the last result. I don't care what the law is. As a practical matter, shooting, self-defense is a last resort. It's a defense that a lot of people use. Very hard to get self-defense. I'm not saying this is not the case here.
Yeah.
But what this is going to boil down to is who is the jury going to believe? Marcus probably will have to take the stand. Or he better have some really good witnesses. Now, where's the gun? Where were these two gentlemen's gun? That was never found, I understand. So that's a problem. And Marcus did run after the incident. I don't know if that's going to be a problem yet, but it could be. So the bottom line is the credibility of Marcus. He seems like a great guy, absolutely great, and that's good. But it is going to matter of, did Marcus have that belief right then and there that his life or his life of his friends was in immediate danger to justify the use of deadly force?
And you spoke about this friend, the young woman who was there when the altercation occurred. She says that Marcus saved her life.
I was there for help, to fix a tire, and it's simple said, it became a situation to where I felt threatened, and Marcus felt threatened, and we were there together, coming from work, and just trying to get home. If it wasn't for Marcus, I do not know what would have happened that night, and I was afraid for my life as well as Marcus Weldon, and I'm very thankful that he was there to protect me and himself.
But Charlie also brought up a very important point. They left the scene of the shooting. Why?
Because when the shots rang out both ways, she, in a frantic mode, ran out into the street. She was banging on car windows, trying to get help. And then Marcus saw her and he ran out to the street to her. See what I'm saying? And he grabbed her, and before you know it, the guys who were shooting at Marcus and the girl, they had a black Charger. And then when he was out there, he saw a black Charger. And so he ran around the block and he ran to a police car. And he was on his way, he was calling 911. It's in the records that he called 911. And when he got to the police car, they threw him down, but he was going there to tell them, these guys are trying to get me.
Did the cops find the bullets from the shooters of the victims in this case?
The cops
yes or no?
No. The cops did not do a good job investigating anything.
No, yeah.
Okay, they didn't search the car until days later. Okay, anything could have been taken out of the car. Okay, also the videotape
So you're gonna
of
say
the
the
gas
cops-
station.
all right.
Have you heard of Darren Wilson?
And there's a videotape.
Come on, I mean,
we
you know,
understand
like
that.
cops are 100% correct all the
We
time.
understand that there could be a videotape, and that has not been released
videotape
yet
has been
by
released.
by the gas station, if there is one, has not yet been seen by police. As far as I know, that may decide this
It
case.
tells the truth. There's a reason.
And
why
we
it's
should
not
remember
coming out.
this is only the first day of an evidentiary hearing. There's going to be a second day coming up January 15th. This case may or may not go to trial, but we certainly want justice to prevail.
Definitely want
no
justice.
matter
That's
what.
correct.
The truth will come out. And the thing about it is, if he hadn't done what he done, the girl would have been in a whole lot of trouble. Marcus may have been dead, and then when he'll be in the hospital or dead, and his mother would be planning a funeral.
But we
So
also
this goes both ways.
But we also send our prayers and condolences to the victims because
pray
we
for
don't want
everybody.
anybody hurt.
Nobody.
No, nobody hurt.
We love life.
No matter what
We
happens.
pray for everybody.
Right.
But I don't want to die either.
Well, let's hope this is resolved in a way that everybody can find some sense of peace. So we thank you for being
Don't
here
destroy
tonight.
this young man's life.
Still ahead, the attack on satire and free speech. Terror in Paris. What does it mean for free speech here in the USA? We let it rip next.